You're listening to the micro version of the Savage Lovecast, www.savagelovecast.com.
If you're stuck in a relationship quandary, or if you're looking for sexual harmony, well, there's nothing you can't ask on the Savage Lovecast.
It's the news that should have been bigger. It's certainly news that would have had people dancing in the streets in San Francisco, New York City, Chicago, basically every city with a big neighborhood. End to AIDS in sight as huge study finds drugs stop HIV transmission. That was the headline in The Guardian. The report is about a new study. Researchers in Europe followed 1,000 male couples where one partner was HIV positive and one was HIV negative, and the HIV positive partner was taking antiretroviral drugs and had an undetectable viral load. That is, no virus detectable in the HIV positive partner's blood at all. There were no cases of transmission of the infection to the HIV negative partner during sex without a condom, the report in The Guardian continued, although 15 men were infected with HIV during the 8-year study. DNA testing proved that those men who did get infected, it was because of sex with someone other than their partner who was not on treatment. This study confirmed something that other studies pointed to and mountains of anecdotal evidence also pointed to. Undetectable equals uninfectious. As Professor Alison Roger of the University College London, who co-led the study, which was published in the Lancet Medical Journal, told The Guardian, this very much puts the issue to bed. Our finding provides conclusive evidence for gay men that the risk of HIV transmission with suppressive ART, antiretroviral therapy, is zero. The success of the medicine means that if everyone with HIV were fully treated, if everyone with HIV had access to antiretroviral therapy, there would be no new infections. The goal of every AIDS organization and HIV/AIDS activist over the last 35 fucking years. There's just one hitch. We may have it in our power to end HIV, to prevent all new infections, but to do that, we have to treat every person with HIV. We have to make these life-saving HIV-ending drugs available to the nearly 40 million people living with HIV/AIDS worldwide, 1.1 million of whom live in the United States. 25% of people with HIV don't know they have it, so we'd need to institute a universal testing program to identify everyone with HIV and then get these drugs, these expensive drugs, to every man, woman, and child currently living with HIV, many of them black, many of them poor, many of them, millions of them, living in Africa. You know, I'm one of the people who would have been dancing in the streets at this news some years ago, but yeah, I read about this study and it didn't inspire me to get up and dance. We have it in our power to end HIV, but will we? We had it in our power to eradicate the measles. We actually said that we had eradicated the measles in 2000, and we fucked that up. Thank you, anti-vaxxers. We have it in our power to get off coal and oil and switch to clean and renewable energy sources. But will we do it? I have a feeling that the oceans are going to be lapping at the coast of Iowa before we get around to that, if we ever do. We have it in our power to ban assault weapons and hunger, to get clean drinking water to the people of Flint, Michigan, to eliminate the Electoral College, impeach Donald Trump. What we don't have in almost all these cases is the political will. And the fight to end HIV/AIDS has always been a political battle. We've made great strides. We've come a long way, babies. But I didn't read the study in the Lancet, the risk of HIV transmission through condomless sex in serodifferent gay couples with the HIV-positive partner taking suppressive antiretroviral therapy. Final results of a multi-center prospective observational study published May 2019 edition. I didn't read the results of that study and think, we are going to do this. I didn't share the co-author's optimism. This powerful message can help end the HIV pandemic by preventing HIV transmission, Professor Roger told The Guardian. I looked it up. Out of the 40 million people currently living with HIV, more than 20 million are already on antiretroviral treatment. That's huge. We're a tiny bit more than halfway to treating everyone with HIV. But it was a fight to get even halfway there. Do we have it in us to fight to get the rest of the way there? Can we find the political will and the money to eradicate HIV once and for all? And can we somehow prevent the same sort of fucking idiots who brought measles back from doing the same with HIV? We shall see, I guess. With all the fights we have on our hands right now, the fights against white supremacism, Trumpism, climate change, deforestation, plastic pollution, mass extinction, and on, do we have it in us? I don't know. we're going to have to see if we have the bandwidth to see the fight against HIV through to its completion, to its eradication. But in the short run, the takeaway from the study for my listeners, something that comes up on the show again and again, sleeping with someone who knows they're HIV positive and is on their meds is less risky than sleeping with someone who thinks they're negative and might not be negative. People with undetectable viral loads cannot spread HIV. Anyone out there who rejects someone who discloses to you that they're positive and undetectable because you're afraid of contracting HIV, yeah, you're doing your risk assessments all wrong. The safest place to be, as it turns out, right now, these days, if you're worried about HIV and only HIV, is in bed with someone who's HIV positive and undetectable. You are safer with someone who knows they're undetectable than you are with someone who thinks they're negative. All right, coming up on today's show on the micro edition of the Savage Lovecast, the free Savage Lovecast, tons of your Qs, lots of my As, and on the Magnum subscription edition of the Savage Lovecast, which you can subscribe to at savagelovecast.com. There you will find twice as much show in every show, more questions and more guests. Lori Gottlieb joins us on this week's Magnum. She is the author of the best-selling Maybe You Should Talk to Someone, and she is the Dear Therapist advice columnist for The Atlantic, and she joins us for Second Opinion on the Magnum. Thanks to Lisa for supporting the Savage Lovecast. Lisa makes high-quality, comfortable, and well-designed mattresses. For 15% off, a 100-night risk-free trial and free shipping, go to lisa.com/savage and use the promo code SAVAGE. Support for this show is brought to you by the new Audible original Heads Will Roll from Saturday Night Live's Kate McKinnon and co-creator Emily Lynn. It's a royally raunchy scripted audio comedy. Listen free with a 30-day trial. Just go to audible.com/savageheads or text SAVAGEHEADS, that's Savage HEADS, to 500-500. This episode is brought to you by Tushy, the modern bidet attachment that your butt will love, and everyone who loves your butt will love too. Visit www.hellotushy.com for 10% off your entire order when you use the promo code SAVAGE. Stop wiping and start washing.
Hi, Dan. I'm calling to say that I loved your having Wednesday Martin on the show. She was amazing, and it was so awesome to hear what she had to say. And I was re-listening to her for the second time today. And something occurred to me when she was talking about how women get bored in 1 to 3 years. And you guys were talking about, getting used to your partner's floss and just like having to see all of them and there being no mystery. And it occurred to me that I wonder if any of these studies control for women usually doing more than their share of the housework and the household management and basically ending up mothering a lot of their partners, because that's my experience, is that I often feel like half of a caretaker to my partners in long-term relationships. And it's definitely not sexy to feel like you're cleaning up after your partner all the time. And I wonder if no one has controlled for that in the studies, maybe you could suggest to her that the next study she do looks at if there's a lesser or the same difference between men and women's like continued attraction, if you can control for how much work, housework and management and cleaning and mothering the partners do.
I loved having Wednesday Martin on the show as well. If you want to hear more of Wednesday, check out Chris Ryan's podcast, Tangentially Speaking, episode 346. They had a long conversation. It's really terrific. On to your question. No one's done a study that controlled for that so far as I know. It is true that a lot of couples will go into couples counseling when the woman is experiencing low libido, which gets, Wednesday would argue, attributed to factors of the relationship or their interpersonal relationship, when it may just be biology and wiring that is cratering the woman's libido because she has a desire, a hardwired desire for novelty and variety, and isn't getting that at home from the same guy. And maybe resentment over the apportionment of household labor compounds that and makes it worse and makes it harder for two people who are used to each other and take each other for granted and are having a hard time with desire. As Esther Perel points out, it's hard to want what you already have. That's what desire is. Desire is wanting something you don't have. And when you have someone, that can complicate desire over the long haul. All that said, there are lots of cases, and this is anecdote, not data, where there are couples in couples counseling and the guy gets religion about doing his fair share, or maybe does more of the household labor, and she still doesn't want to fuck him because she's bored, because it's really not about who's loading the dishwasher at what clip and who's doing the laundry at what clip. Also, it might be beneficial to look at same-sex couples and their relationships and the apportionment of household labor, which there are studies that show that when it comes to household labor with same-sex couples, they're more egalitarian. There's a fair distribution of household chores and household labor in same-sex relationships. It would be interesting then to look at desire in those relationships and whether that more egalitarian division of household labor contributes in a positive way to that couple's ability to sustain desire for one another over time. It is a rich field for study, perhaps, but I don't think a lot of studies have been done. There are, however, a lot of guys out there who will tell you they do more than their fair share at home, and that's self-reporting, and their perceptions may be skewed because the culture tells a guy that he doesn't have to do anything at home, so if he's doing just a little bit, he might feel like he's doing half or more than half. But there are lots of guys out there who self-report they're doing more than their fair share, and their female partners still aren't interested, which could point to everything else in Wednesday Martin's book about evolution, about biology, about the way women are wired, and how desire works, which may have nothing to do with who unloaded the dishwasher last.
Hey Dan, I'm a late 20s woman in a fairly large city. I've never really heard you talk about this, so I'd be excited to get your thoughts. I'm wondering what you think about the etiquette of kicking someone out after you've had sex of your bed. So for context, first date, not explicitly a hookup date at all, just not kind of date with drinks, and then you sort of hit it off. We hit it off. And he invites me back to his, and we have sex, and then kind of midnight, 1 o'clock comes around, and he's like, you're not allowed to stay here, you have to go home, and kicks me out, and I have to go home. And it makes me feel pretty disrespected. This has happened twice to me, most recently tonight. And I don't know, maybe it's he was a bit older than me. Maybe it's more of a thing when you're older and you take your job more seriously and have to think about work tomorrow. But I have work tomorrow and I'd be happy to sleep there. So I don't know. I wonder what your thoughts are about the etiquette of that, kicking someone out of bed after you've had sex.
It's funny on the gay apps, if you're inviting someone over to have sex, you're hosting. People will ask, can you host? That means, can you have me over? I'm hosting, I can have you over. But there's some people out there who want to host for sex, but don't want to host for breakfast. Don't want to wake up in the morning next to a near stranger. And that to me seems a bit odd. If you're going to be intimate, if you're going to swap spit and roll around in bed together naked and have sex, I feel like you can make that person an egg in the morning, but that's just me. I'm a nice person. You're just you. You've had this experience twice. 2 different guys have invited you over and then made it clear after the sex that you had to go. And maybe because they were older, maybe they had high-powered jobs, maybe they had to get up early in the morning. They could have said that. They could have said that before they invited you over. They could have made that known to you that you couldn't spend the night when they invited you over. And then you could have made an informed choice, as they call it, about whether you wanted to go fuck that guy under those specific conditions. That at midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning, you would be pulling on your clothes and piling yourself into an Uber and heading home. And maybe you would have chosen that then, and you'd be less resentful because you would have known that that's what you were signing up for. Well, you know about yourself now that it irritates you to be sent packing after you get fucked. So say that. Somebody invites you over, you're having a first date, second date, and he invites you to his, which I love that Britishism. I love that way of putting it. He invites you to his. You should say to him, is this an invite for hanging out, hooking up a couple hours, or am I spending the night? And then if he says, no, just a couple hours, I have to get up early in the morning, my secret second family is coming over, whatever it might be, and you can make an informed choice, and maybe you won't feel so resentful, and maybe he'll share reasons with you that are comprehensible, that are understandable. Like maybe he has the kind of job where he has to be up and out the door at 5 o'clock in the morning to get to work. Some people have those jobs. I don't know why he wouldn't mention that to you, to put the get the fuck out in context. that would make him seem like not an asshole. But men sometimes have trouble communicating, just like men sometimes have trouble emptying dishwashers. Here at Savage Lovecast Industries, we are really into mattresses for all the obvious reasons. So you should have the very best mattress possible. And that's where Lisa comes in. Lisa knows how important rest is to a better life. Lisa is the foundation of a healthier, happier you. All Lisa products have been thoughtfully designed to go beyond creating a comfortable bed and to transform your bedroom into a sanctuary you want to spend more time in. Lisa's most popular multi-layer foam mattress is made with premium foams for cooling, contouring, and pressure-relieving support. We just got a brand new Lisa mattress at home, and we love it. It is super comfortable, and it is cool. I like that. I'm one of those people who needs the bedroom to be cool when I sleep, and having a mattress that is designed to provide a little cooling comfort under the blankets, that is just what I needed. And as a company, Lisa is doing all sorts of good stuff. Lisa donates one mattress for every 10 they sell through organizations that work in causes like foster care prevention. And to date, they've donated more than 32,000 mattresses through more than 1,000 nonprofits. That is not nothing. You'll get, if you order a Lisa mattress, a 100-night risk-free trial plus free shipping and returns. In-home delivery and setup is available, and Lisa mattresses are made in the USA. Don't miss out. Live healthier, live happier by resting more deeply. Order today and get 15% off your purchase for a limited time at lisa.com/savage and use the promo code SAVAGE. That's LEESA.com, lisa.com/savage, promo code SAVAGE.
Hi, Dan and the tech-savvy at-risk youth. I'm calling from the Pacific Northwest, and I'm a cis-queer woman in her late 20s. I'm calling because I have a family issue I need advice on. My loving aunt, who we have a great relationship together, I recently found out, confirmed, that her and her best friend have been carrying on an emotional affair, as well as a off-again, on-again physical relationship for the better part of 2 decades. My aunt and person B are very close, and I've known this woman since, I was an adolescent, and we see her at all family gatherings. My aunt doesn't know that I know this. However, most of the family and friend group do know. So it's very difficult being around these people, mostly so because person B is married and has been for over a decade. This man I also see at family gatherings, holidays and such, and I've chosen to completely avoid them since I found this out because I am not a secret-keeping person, and I know I'm just going to vomit it all out and create a lot of chaos, even though I would really, really like to. I know this isn't necessarily my place, so I've been staying out of it and kind of avoiding family gatherings. But my issue is that this man, who I adore and love, who is probably not doing the best emotionally anyway, has really getting the short end of the stick with this woman, and I'd really like to see him be treated better. And I'd really like my aunt to be treated better as well. Although I can't control this, I can control when he finds out the information. I do know that this is an affair. It's not like some low-key open relationship thing. He doesn't know. And she isn't willing to tell him. So at this moment, I know that their physical relationship is off, and they've just been continuing to be BFFs who are in love, which is so fun for them, I'm sure. But I'm wondering how I should handle this. I'm not going to be able to see them and enjoy myself and my family without spilling the tea. And I really don't want to see this man continuing to be hurt. What should I do here? Should I pull him aside and tell him he needs to speak to his wife? Should I pull the wife aside and say, stop being a shitty person and making shitty decisions and treat these people better and let everybody know? Let the cat out of the bag already? Or should I continue avoiding it? I mean, it's not my problem, but gosh, I really, really want to see this unfurl.
My first question, if I may, is what did you think I was going to tell you to do when you called? Usually people have some idea of what I might tell them, what my advice might be, and I'm curious if you had some idea of what I might tell you.
Well, I guess I assume that you'd say, stay out of it. It's, not your relationship, not your issue.
Literally none of your business.
So I guess I just really wanted to know, families asking why I'm not showing up to things and what's that all about. So,
and what is that all about? Why are you incapable of keeping your fucking mouth shut in this context. I don't understand it. Your aunt that you claim to love has had for 2 decades an on and off again physical relationship with this person who's married to someone else who's not a relative of yours, right? And not and isn't your husband.
No.
Right? And this woman that your aunt's having an affair with isn't you or your spouse. Like, literally, this has nothing to do with you. And you have no idea, no way from outside of knowing how much damage the telling of this truth could do to all of the people involved, including the person that you regard as the victim, the husband.
Oh, I definitely don't necessarily think I regard her as a victim. But yeah, no, I totally acknowledge that.
So is it just that you have like poor impulse control and that's your own issue and you need to speak to a therapist about it? Because you keep saying that, like, if you're in the same room, you're not going to be able to refrain from just exposing this affair and blurting all of this information out. If you knew that your aunt had crazy amounts of credit card debt or had done something irresponsible with her kids' college funds, would you blurt that out at a family gathering? Or is it just because it's sex?
No, I don't think it has anything to do with that aspect of it. I think it's just the fact that it's gone on so long and there's, some close people I love that are getting hurt.
Who's getting hurt?
I was just...
You love this woman that your aunt's having an affair with, you love her husband?
No. The husband who is obviously getting hurt, and my aunt who's being treated like a dirty little secret. And is herself just realizing that, she doesn't want to, so she's kind of changing her dynamic and within the relationship.
Okay, so she's ending. So this relationship, there's no longer a physical relationship. Your aunt has ended this.
For the time being, yeah. She's trying to, I guess.
How do you know all this? How did you find all this out?
Family members who she confided in, friends who she confided in have told. I was talking with somebody and guessed it, basically, and then it was confirmed. So that's how I found out the truth, I guess. So
you're just the Robert Mueller of this situation. You're the independent counsel. Okay. You're doing the investigation.
Well, I'm definitely not trying to. I'm not going out looking for what's happening. I ask if she's okay, and then, I'm given new information.
Okay.
Is all. And nothing's really changing. I was just,
And why can't this information die with you? Why do you feel burdened by knowing this? Why do you feel like you have to act or have to do something? Because you can't, because you can't just barge into these relationships under the assumption that putting it all out there and telling the truth and making sure everyone knows that your aunt had this affair and this woman had this affair with your aunt and this person was wronged is going to improve everyone's lot in any way.
Yeah, I don't think it will. I don't think it will. I guess I'm just...
So this is an impulse control issue of yours. If you know that this isn't your business, if you know that blurting all these truths out could do more damage than the affair itself, which is now over, did, why can't you keep your mouth shut at a family gathering?
Well, there's no reason I can't, except I feel as though everybody knows except this man, and it feels really shitty.
Okay, maybe he doesn't want to know.
Yeah, maybe.
If you're listening to the show, you probably heard me cite this Esther Perel advice, which I think is really smart. The victim of the affair is not always the victim of the marriage.
Yeah.
Sometimes people are in marriages that are awful, and they have their own reasons for staying in them, and they seek what comfort they can outside of them.
Yeah.
And
that, I mean, that's perfect sense. Yeah.
Right. So you have no way of knowing from outside with the scuttlebutt that you've obtained, which is all framed, through the sex negativity that permeates our culture and the assumption that almost everyone is prone to making about affairs, which is the people having the affairs are always the monsters. And the people who are being cheated on are pure victims, which is not always the case. You have no way of knowing what dynamics are at play here. You have no way of knowing who the villain in the piece is.
No, that's from what I've heard. I definitely am not assuming one is a saint and one is a sinner. Okay. It's a super complicated issue, and
right, it's a super complicated issue that doesn't involve you.
Yeah, it doesn't.
and it doesn't implicate you. And, it's bad that this affair happened. It's probably somebody is getting hurt. Probably somebody was badly used. Maybe your aunt was badly used. Maybe this woman's husband was badly used. Maybe she was badly used by her husband and sought what comfort she could and wound up hurting other people in that process. Maybe everybody hurt. And your telling the truth is just going to rip open everyone's wounds and freshly salt them and embarrass and humiliate all of the participants.
Yeah.
And do no one any good.
That's correct. I agree. I guess I was just, it is hard to keep my mouth shut and not want to interject, even though it doesn't have to do with me.
All you have to do is tell yourself you have no way of knowing whether speaking up is going to make it worse for everybody, including the people you think you're trying to protect. Yeah. So you're just not going to say anything. Yeah. These aren't your relationships.
What's your advice on, should I just do my best to avoid engaging about that with them if I go, or should I avoid? Or, I will work on impulse control. I just, people are.
Knowing that this is a torment to you, that. Like hearing all this information, the burden of knowing is a uncomfortable one for you. Stop trying to know everything about this relationship. Stop asking about it. If people want to talk to you about it, if people want to gossip, say, I don't want to be a part of this. I don't want to hear it. And then you go into those encounters, you go into those family events, and you just don't think about it.
Okay.
My grandmother on my dad's side had an affair with a neighbor when my dad was a kid that my dad ended up finding out about, and that it was a huge sort of rupture in their relationship. And everybody knew it, that this had happened in their past, right? And I would go to family events with my grandma and grandpa who were still married to each other, and no one would bring it up. Everybody knew about it, but there was no need for it to be discussed or acknowledged.
Yeah. Because
it just would have hurt everybody involved to revisit it. And it would potentially embarrass and humiliate your aunt.
I definitely wouldn't want to do it in a public setting, I guess. It was more of like, if should I let them know that I know?
No.
I guess if I was in his situation, I would want to know, I guess, so I was just applying that to myself, which isn't necessarily what everybody else would want. So
project yourself into your aunt's experience. She's been fucking this woman on and off for 20 years. It's an affair of 20 years. On some level, she knows people probably know. But on another level, she goes into family gatherings thinking, it's a comfort to not know who knows and to think maybe fewer people know than actually know, or to even psych myself up and suspend disbelief and just go into a family event under the assumption, under the comforting delusion that no one knows about this, that we've successfully kept this from everyone. And that contributes to your aunt's peace of mind. It makes it possible for your aunt to be a member of the family and go to these family events. And just having her nose rubbed in the fact that everybody fucking knows may end up depriving your aunt of the comfort of her family, particularly now at this moment when she may need it more than she's ever needed it before, if indeed this affair is over and done.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes, it that definitely makes sense. I don't want to humiliate anybody or make anything worse, I guess.
Then keep your mouth shut about shit that's not your business. That's how you can avoid humiliating people. I know that the culture tells us that telling the truth is always the most loving option. Tell the truth. Be honest. Sometimes keeping your mouth shut and not lying, but you won't ever be in a position to have to lie about this. You're never going to be deposed about your aunt's relationships. But sometimes just keeping your mouth shut, not telling a truth that you happen to know, but that doesn't involve you, that's the loving thing to do. To not be honest, to not be transparent, to hold something back. And by so doing, demonstrate to others in your family that they shouldn't be gossiping about this. It doesn't involve them. And to demonstrate to your aunt that, if she knows on some level, perhaps she appreciates that you love her anyway, or that it's irrelevant, or that you are courteous or considerate enough not to bring it the fuck up.
Yeah. I guess I've never acknowledged that, there's so much love in the safety of your family, and, you know, not having to acknowledge everything is good, because we're kind of a family that brings everything out.
Right. If everything comes out, there are no relationships.
Yeah.
If everything, you know, every piece of dirty laundry gets dragged out into the middle of the room, there's no loving family anymore, because no family, no relationship, not even an individual relationship between two people could withstand that onslaught
Yeah.
of every wrong being known, being discussed, being made public, every piece of dirty laundry being hung up.
Yeah. People deserve their privacy.
And that's why we don't do it.
Yeah.
Yes, people deserve their privacy.
Yeah.
And sometimes people deserve the illusion of their privacy.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I know this about you, but you don't need to know I know it.
Mm-hmm.
That's love.
That's a hard concept for me to grasp. I've never really.
I mean, it's not love in all its forms, but it's one way that we can demonstrate that we love someone. You know, I know this thing about you. It would make it really uncomfortable for you to know I know it. So I'm just going to bury it. I'm going to stuff it down the memory hole. I'm going to pretend I don't know it. It's not relevant. I'm not going to bring it up so that you don't have to think about it when we interact. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I'm sure she's thinking of nothing else all the time, probably for the last 20 years. So safe spaces are important.
And she has a good relationship with you, or did, until you found this out. And if she wanted to open up and confide in you about it, she would have already.
Yeah. Yeah.
Respect her choice to keep this as private as she can.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you for the advice. I appreciate that. Permission to stay quiet. Thanks.
That wasn't permission to stay quiet. That was an order to keep your fucking mouth shut. That's different than permission to stay quiet.
Accepted. Thanks, Dan.
Sure thing. Bye. This episode of the Savage Lovecast is brought to you by Tushy. Tushy is the modern bidet attachment that hooks up to any standard toilet in under 10 minutes and gives your butt the thorough clean it deserves. Your ass and everyone who loves your ass and gets near your ass deserves it. People sometimes call into the show and ask about keeping themselves clean and ready and prepped for butt sex, and this is a big part of how you can accomplish that. You might think that bidets are expensive, but not Tushy. It is only, I hope you're sitting down, $69. That's cheaper than the average vibrator. If you're going to invest in your sexual pleasure, why not invest in your health and cleanliness down there too? Tushy provides a luxurious clean at an affordable price, and I highly recommend it. Go to hellotushy.com and get 10% off your order with promo code SAVAGE. Stop wiping, start washing with Tushy.
Hey, Dan. I'm married. I've been married for 5 years. Consider myself a lesbian, but since we've opened our relationship, I've been dating both men and women. Question for you. When I'm dating women, I feel very casual. I don't get nervous. I don't feel like anxious or weird or like I've put my foot in my mouth at any point. Like, it's really not something that I worry about. It's just very casual, and like I feel comfortable and confident and like fine. When I go out with guys, sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes, like if I think they're very attractive, and that isn't to say that the women that I date I don't think are attractive, but if I am trying to date a guy who I think is very attractive, I get so nervous. And I don't know, what does that mean? I was talking to my straight friend and I was like, this is why I like dating women. I don't get really weird when I date women. And sometimes if I date a guy, I get all like freaked out. And she's like, oh, that sounds really boring to me, and kind of implied that like I must not like women that much. But I know that's not the case. So I don't know. Thoughts?
You're the lesbian out there fucking dudes, but I'm the one who's going to get yelled at for playing your question. I'm the one who's going to be told that by taking your question, I'm encouraging straight guys to see lesbians as doable. But it's not my fault. It's not my fault that there are so many or a few lesbian identified folks out there who sometimes like to get with guys. I've met some gay identified men who occasionally like to get with women. I have one gay friend in Los Angeles who really blows up my acid test for who is and isn't gay, because he likes to get with women every once in a while just to eat pussy. That's it. That's the only thing he really enjoys about boy girl getting it on is cunnilingus. And he claims to be really good at it. I couldn't tell you. Never ate my pussy. Anyway, on to your question. Why are you at ease with women and made nervous in a way that you aren't with women by really attractive men. Not just men, but the super hot ones. Something about those guys throws you off. Well, it's sometimes the case, and I don't think this is the case here, where we're at ease, more at ease, being intimate or sexual with someone when the stakes are low, because you're not really invested in a future with that person or any sort of possibility with that person. It was easier for me to be sexually active as a very young teenager with girls because I didn't care. Because whether they liked me or not, or really wanted to be my girlfriend or not, was irrelevant because I was not romantically attracted to them. But when I got with guys for the first time or at all, I was a wreck because their opinions mattered so much to me. I was really invested in wanting them to want me in this deep and profound way that I didn't really want the girls I was messing around with to want me. That meant I was gay in that circumstance. I don't think that you're being nervous with these guys means you're secretly straight. What I think is going on here is perhaps some nervousness about how you're being assessed by these guys. The male gaze, sort of a double bank shot reverse flip male gaze, where you are looking at these hot guys and intuiting, perhaps subconsciously, that they may be assessing you as an object in a way that you're not comfortable with or used to. When you're with women, you may feel less objectified than you do when you're with men. When you're with men who are average looking, not super hot, their opinion of your hotness relative to their hotness doesn't matter because you're the hotter one. You're the bigger get. But when you're with somebody hot, suddenly you're in competition with their objective hotness. And their assessment of your hotness relative to their own hotness may make you feel scrutinized as an object in a way that you aren't used to in your lesbian or same-sex relationships, or in your relationships or your dates or your hookups with guys who are less beautiful than the guys who throw you off and make you nervous. Support for this show is brought to you by the new Audible original Heads Will Roll from Saturday Night Live's amazing Kate McKinnon and co-creator, equally amazing, Emily Lynn. Enter the night realm where the evil Queen Mortuna and her ditzy raven sidekick must put down a peasant rebellion and save the throne. Will their friendship survive? Sensitive generals, chatty sex slaves, whiny behemoths, princes with bird fetishes, and the notion of democracy. This audio satire also features the wicked talents of Meryl Streep, Tim Gunn, Peter Dinklage, Queer Eyes Fab 5, 80 Bryant, Esther Perel, and so many more. It's a scripted audio comedy that's like TV, but for your ears. Listen free with a 30-day trial. Just go to audible.com/savageheads or text savageheads to 500-500. That's audible.com/savageheads or text savageheads to 500-500.
One thing that I'd like to discuss with Dan and get his opinion on would be, how does he feel about gay, lesbian, and transgender people, bisexual, queer people, having the right to self-determination? And what I mean by that is it time that our civil rights struggle is fully realized and we have a state for gay, lesbian, and transgender people to migrate to and also to give sanctuary to? I've been thinking about this for a while. I'm a 48-year-old gay man. I've lived in San Francisco for 25 years, and I've just recently come to, in the last few years since gay marriage, the idea that we are no longer a type of people that should be reduced to the people that we have sex with, but a people that is more, should be considered more of a race of people. And, you know, our destinies have been tied to the Holocaust, and after the Holocaust, our people were, after the concentration camps were freed, our people were locked back up by the Allies. And I think it's time that we should receive reparations for that, and the UN should give us, just like Israel, our own nation state. And I know this is a radical idea, and I hope it's one that its time has come.
One gay man to another, I kind of want to slap the word reparations out your mouth. African Americans were subjected to centuries of racist and economic oppression that deprived them of the kind of accumulation of generational wealth that white families benefited from over those same centuries. African Americans were enslaved. After enslavement, they were subjected to Jim Crow, barred from certain professions, denied the benefits of the GI Bill, redlined out of neighborhoods. That's why you can make a just case, and I think a winning case, for reparations for the African American community. The queer community, gays and lesbians, we have not been subjected to generation after generation of economic marginalization because it's not possible to subject us to that kind of economic oppression, because we are born into not queer families that are easily identifiable and marginalized. We are born into almost invariably straight families. We are born rich. We are born poor. We are born working class, middle class, upper middle class. And the wealth accumulated by the families into which we are born benefits us. So queer people have not been blocked out of the accumulation of generational wealth over the centuries the way African Americans were. So yeah, no, you can't make an argument that today's queers deserve reparations because after the Second World War, German gay men who'd been imprisoned in concentration camps were sent to prison. No. So please don't ever say that in public ever again. So yeah, don't make a reparations argument for queers. Doesn't hold water. And it actually is an insult to people who deserve reparations. As for a homeland, we got Key West, we got Provincetown, we got San Francisco, we got Atlanta, Chicago, New York City. We're born into all strata of society. We're born into all religious traditions. We're born into all economic classes. We're randomly distributed throughout the population. To segregate ourselves, to remove ourselves, to have our own homeland, I think would be counterproductive. It would be abandoning the queers who are coming up next, the queers who are yet to be born, who won't be born in gay Israel. They'll be born into straight land. Our removing ourselves from straight land suggests that there's something straight about straight land, when our presence through random distribution through the population proves that there's nothing straight about straight land. There are just people, a small percentage of which are queer. And so all families are either queer or soon to be queer or previously queer. There's nothing straight about straight families. Our presence proves it. There's nothing straight about straight polities, because there's no such thing as a straight polity, because we exist in every culture and every society. So yeah, I'm sorry. Don't support reparations for queer people. Don't want to live in gay Israel. All right, before we get to your feedback calls, let's check in on the tweets. Aggressive, progressive tweets. Fake Dan Savage is so right. Destination weddings should be illegal. I would support your platform. If you ran for office, hashtag Savage Lovecast. I will never run for office, but if I ever do, it will be on a complete ban of destination weddings platform. Rebecca Sadiq tweets, really wish I discovered at Fake Dan Savage's podcast when I was a young thoughtling, hashtag Savage Lovecast, hashtag many regrets. Well, you're with us now, Rebecca, and that's what matters. And finally, I am Sabrina's complete lack of surprise tweets. Just choked on my coffee when Fake Dan Savage mentioned the Duggars in an ad on the Savage Lovecast about maternity clothes. Thanks for mixing evangelical nutjob laughs into my morning and attempting to kill me, Dan. You are welcome. If you want me to read your tweet about the show on a future episode of the Savage Lovecast, be sure to use the hashtag Savage Lovecast. And now, some listener response calls.
Hi, my name is Jill, and I'm calling in response to episode 653, the one that just posted. And I'm calling because there was a woman who was unable to have fantastic sex without weed. And I hear that, but I'm a nurse and I work in healthcare, and she could just try using weed lube that does not show up on any tests or anything. I recommend the Velvet Swing variety. Weed lube, it's a thing, it works, it gets that specific region high, feels great. And yeah, it doesn't show up on blood tests.
Hey, Dan, just calling in response to a woman that phoned in episode 653, the teacher that's worried about going to a sex club. Before I got into my current relationship, I was actually fairly deep into the kink community for many, many years. One thing that I did notice, if she is worried about people finding out who she is, that kind of thing, if she doesn't have any glaringly identifying markings, such as tattoos, scars, that kind of thing, wear a mask. It's totally common, and nobody will bat an eye. There's no problem whatsoever about hiding your identity at most of the clubs that I've been to. Most people are perfectly understanding that there's kind of a disconnect between that lifestyle and professional personal lives for most of the reasons that you already mentioned in that call.
Hey, Dan. I'm just calling to comment on the woman who's not sure if she should go to her former best friend's wedding. You're telling her to go if it's easy to honor the former relationship, but I just looked at wedding pictures from my wedding from 10 years ago, and there's all these women in there that I don't even know anymore. And most of those friendships didn't last a year past that wedding, and I really wish that those women had just gotten themselves out of my face and not be in my wedding pictures right now. So if she knows that she doesn't want to be friends with this woman going forward, think about the wedding pictures she's going to have to look at forever and just make sure she's not in them.
And we're going to leave it there. 206-302-2064 is the number here at the Savage Lovecast. If you'd like to record a question or a comment for a future show, give us a buzz, 206-302-2064. And also remember to tweet at us on the Twitter using the hashtag Savage Lovecast. Hump, my Dirty Little Porn Film Festival, is going to be in Pittsburgh and Minneapolis this week, so go to humpfilmfest.com to get your tickets. And I will be in Seattle this weekend for Savage Love Live at the Egyptian Theater with my very special guests, Rachel Lark and trans comedian Karina Lucas. Go to savagelovecast.com/events to grab a ticket. And a big thank you to Andrew and Kat for the terrific Second Opinion theme song. Follow me on Twitter at FakeDanSavage. Follow Lori Gottlieb on Twitter at LoriGottlieb1. The Savage Lovecast is produced every week by Nancy Hartunian and me and the tech-savvy at-risk youth and Nancy. We will all be back at you next week with another installment of the Savage Lovecast. Thanks for downloading.